We've just completed a ramp off of Scenic Drive to be able to get access to the beach, because last winter we lost the access that we had typically taken off of the state park's parking lot. So the bigger picture is, how do we manage the Carmel Lagoon waters without affecting the steelhead, at the same time not having homes flood that live around the edge of the lagoon.
We're working cooperatively with the Army Corps of Engineers to buttress this area of Scenic Drive that degraded from wave action in 2009. The Army Corps has asked that we place sand to further armor this section. Last year we had our main access to the beach with the bulldozers cut off from the parking lot. So we're going to place about 1,000 cubic yards of sand at this location and build a side slope sand ramp to gain access to the beach. Public Works used to manage the sandbar at this location. Historically, we would manage the sandbar on the southern end of the beach in a straight out fashion. Last year we worked cooperatively with National Marine Fisheries and managed the sandbar in a northern direction. In March, we had a significant storm. We had 7,000 cubic feet per second coming down the river. The river went up against the bathrooms and the parking lot that is owned by state parks and significantly scoured the parking lot. They lost about 40 feet of parking lot. At that time, we also lost our beach access. We used to access the beach with bulldozers from the parking lot. So with that, we need to build a secondary access to get on the beach this season and manage the sandbar. And because we were asked to place sand at this location, made a lot of sense to add additional sand at this location and build a side slope ramp to get on the beach. The sand is coming from a sand plant. It's called Scenic. It's out of Marina. So it's sand directly off the beach in Marina. Somewhere between 40 and 60 truckloads of sand. It's going to be a project that we're going to just dump as much as sand as required until we're comfortable with the side slope ramp. It's also going to serve as pedestrian access throughout the winter to the beach. And we don't have an exact figure of how much sand we're going to dump at this time.
The next step for this season, now that we have the access, is to create a channel on the south end of the beach that will channel from the lagoon to the ocean in a southerly direction. And by doing that, we'll be able to, if we get to a flood level, be able to release the water that's in the lagoon in order to avoid flooding of homes. We've really tried to have good community outreach. We had a community meeting on October 20th to let them know where we're at, what we're trying to do. We try to keep them in the loop all along the way. It's not easy, but we are doing our best to keep them informed as we move forward and we start designing the protection barrier, the bigger picture project. We want the public to have their opportunity to input on that. They're our best resource as far as knowing what happens here historically, because they've seen it and lived it. And so including them is, I think, really critical.
The problems in the past are the county has operated under an emergency declaration without a permit to manage the sandbar. Last year we had a 60-day notice of intent to sue from several organizations. We worked with the National Marine Fisheries to try to manage the sandbar in a way that slowly reduced the elevation of the lagoon and didn't rapidly evacuate the lagoon and left habitat for the juvenile steelheads to flourish in. So that's the same intent this year. as well as working with National Marine Fisheries. We are working with the Army Corps to get permitting in place so that we can manage the sandbar. We've also been given a 5-year timeline to take other measures, get studies and permits in place to armor Scenic Drive, as well as put up an ecological barrier around the homes in Scenic so that Public Works no longer has to manage the sandbar, and the Carmel Lagoon will be able to open close naturally without mechanical breaching.
Historically, we would go out on an emergency basis and do the work, and this year we're working with the agencies, Army Corps of Engineers and Coastal Commission and Fish and Game, to get the permits that are legally required. We got permits for the sand access, we got a permit from Army Corps, we got a permit from the Coastal Commission. Before we can do any channeling, we need to get emergency permit approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, National Marine Fisheries, and Fish and Game.
Public Works in years past managing the sandbar relatively straight out or to the south. The difference between past years and last year working proactively with National Marine Fisheries, it essentially doubled our costs and our efforts. We managed the lagoon 14 times last year. Some of those times were a 3-day event. So it easily doubled our costs last year. And oftentimes we're not seen. We're out here in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, pouring down rain, trying to prevent the flooding of the homes, and oftentimes we're gone before daylight. So a lot of times the efforts of the crews are not seen, and it's really the guys on the piece of the on the equipment that are providing the flood protection for the homes. There's other agencies that are working cooperatively with Public Works, Monterey County Water Resources, Monterey County Office of Emergency Services, Planning, a multitude of agencies that are coming together to try to do what's most beneficial for the steelhead, as well as still protect from the flooding potential.
We're working towards the long-term solution of having the balance that the lagoon can naturally open and close without any mechanical activity, and at the same time the homes don't flood. I mean, that's equally, if not more important, for the county. The county does the flood control, so we're the ones that are trying to protect the homes. There's other agencies that are trying to protect the other pieces, the steelhead and the environmental components of it. So it's all a balance. But if we do it right, and I think we can, we're doing the technical studies now so that we can understand what happens hydrologically, geologically in the entire area, looking at it as a whole rather than just looking at our Marine Scenic Road or just putting up a wall to protect the homes along the lagoon, or individual pieces don't solve the big piece because it can move the problem. So we're trying to look at it on a more global basis with all the agencies collaborating and coming up with hopefully one final solution.